Included in the training of the Iraqi Civil Defense Corps is a lot of very interesting classroom time. I had a chance to sit in on some of it and listen to what the U.S. Army is teaching these young recruits.
Our task today is to gain an understanding of the elements of torture.
مهمتنا هي أن نحصل على معلومات ومفهومة عن التعذيب.
Now you're going to hear this many times during today's class. But there is never a time or a place when torture is the right thing.
لا يوجد أي وقت أو أي مكان حيث التعذيب هو شيء صحيح.
Torture is always wrong. And it doesn't matter if it's a time of war or any other time of unrest. Torture is not going to be acceptable. But if you fall asleep in my class, it won't be just you who does push-ups. It'll be with the men on either side of you as well. Because we are all our brother's keepers. And if we do not help our brother, he will not be successful. Okay? All right.
Upon completion of the course, they receive 90,000 dinar, which is about $60 U.S. currency. And then when they move out to the border, they actually get 130,000 dinar extra, so about $90.
Now these recruits have a reason to celebrate. They have a new future, they have a new hope, and best of all, they have a job.
They are really enthusiastic about learning these tasks. Thank God that there are leaders in the world that have the guts to go in and free a people and give them a chance at a normal life like the other civilized Western world countries are. Under the old regime, they were nothing but farmers, they were nothing but peasants, and they were treated as such. I'm just glad that we have leaders that are able to take a stand and bring freedom to a country. I'd probably like to try that again, but jobs that are necessary, and I'm screwing that up, so I got to do this again. And destructive behaviors such as terrorism. Fuck, man, what the hell am I saying?
While I was embedded at Anaconda, a number of soldiers came up to me and said, "Mike, you've got to go see the dump here on the base." And at first I thought they were joking until they told me about some of the things that they find on a daily basis. It was at the Anaconda base dump that I met Sergeant Ken Layson from Wilsonville, Oregon. He was very upset about what's going on at the base, and here's what he had to say.
We're at the Anaconda scrap metal yard, and what we're finding out here is units that have departed the area are dumping serviceable items here instead of turning it back into the Army supply system. So we're trying to get that corrected.
Many items at the dump are still in their original packaging. Others are still banded to the pallets that they were shipped on, having gone directly from the factory to the dump. During my interview with Sergeant Layson, a truck pulled up about 50 feet away from us and began throwing away perfectly usable steel rods. Sergeant Layson noticed what they were doing and immediately walked over and busted these guys and made them reload the truck and take the rods to the Army Procurement Center so that they can be redistributed to the other units.
We're finding radios, we're finding fans, auto parts, wheels, tires. The radios are GRC 106s. Those are high-frequency radios. We have one in our unit, and I think it's used for communicating with aircraft.
The biggest problem that this out-of-control dumping is creating is with the local Iraqi villagers. They see what we're throwing away in this dump.
They'll mush down the razor wire, and then they'll just drop cardboard over the top of it and pry up the fence.
For the locals, the Anaconda dump is a cafeteria, a hardware store, a building improvement center, and a weapons factory, all in one convenient location.
Our trash is their gold.
And every day, 30 to 40 hungry young children press up against the razor-sharp concertina wire to see what it is that we're throwing away. Every time the soldiers turn their heads, these kids risk a bullet to make a dash for trash. Scavenging here is so valuable that gangs of kids protect this turf. And while I was there, a large fight broke out between two rival gangs that are fighting over the right to scavenge at the dump.
Anaconda, Maine, this is Rock 50.
Roger, as long as they're fighting amongst each other outside the wire, there's little we can do but observe, over.
The Army's answer to this is to issue orders to shoot any scavenger that climbs over the fence because they're invading the privacy of the base.
If they threw rocks at us, that's a threat. That could be a deadly threat, yes, and I would lock and load on them and run them out of here. And if they were actually hitting and hurting soldiers with rocks, we'd have to shoot them, obviously. See, part of the problem here is units they've been here so long and they're getting close to going home, so instead of doing the right thing and turning in perfectly good lumber or any other equipment, they're bringing it to the garbage dump and throwing it away. Sometimes we're our own worst enemy. Guys, go home. Go home. Go home. Go back across.
The Americans just throw away so much stuff that should be put in a box, shipped out to the villages so that the locals can use it, you know? I mean, we shouldn't waste anything.
The most interesting soldier that I met while I was embedded with the military is a guy named Mark Scholl. Actually, it's Major Scholl to most of us. This guy is the prototype military badass. 6'2", 220. He's built like a linebacker, and he does probably one of the hardest and bravest jobs in the entire military.
Some of the locals will say, God loves Major Scholl. Good sheep.
Major Scholl takes one step further. He also takes time out of his busy schedule and at great personal risk to visit the schools in the villages around the base.
We've got candies for the children. We've got gum. We've got some toothpaste. Oh my gosh, hemorrhoid cream. That's not toothpaste. That's not toothpaste. Hello. Hello. From America. Okay. Here we go. Iraq and America are friends. That was like, those children now will remember that in their minds for their whole lives probably. Yeah, the day that the nice Americans came, you know. So you used to see Apaches go by, people go down the freeway 100 miles an hour, you know. Yeah. But as far as, you know, real close interaction, they don't see it. They don't get that. Do the children around here have plenty of good water to drink? We have for you today some pencils, some rulers, and some books for the children. Yes. Okay, as well as some candy and some soap and some shampoo for Madame and other things for you to share with all the children in the school, please. Good friends. Good friends. Now they go home to their families and their friends and say, hey, the Americans are good. And that has it just keeps spreading, you know. Yeah.
The soldiers that I was embedded with used this little item called a flash drive to share and spread some of the most horrific military images I have ever seen.